The way that Harry Styles, who has a feminine demeanor, compared to someone outwardly queer like Lil Nas X or Sam Smith, the treatment is very, very, very different. He needs to come out. He needs to stop being a queerbaiter. I'm thinking, did we not learn anything from Kit Connor? Hi everyone, how are we doing? Hope you're well, safe, hydrated, looking after yourself, and everything in between. For those of you who do not know me, you kind of fumbled a little bit, but that's all right. I'm a very accepting, forgiving person in the year of horse. Is it the year of the horse? Welcome, my name is Jord, and this is the Winning Side podcast. For those of you who do know me, thanks. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for coming back. You did your big one. I appreciate you. Okay, so today I'm going to have a conversation on queerbaiting, the debate between queerbaiting or embracing queer culture. I mean, there's been like a lot of conversations about queer. I mean, queerbaiting's always on the horizon, to be honest. Like it comes and goes, but like it's like not a trend as such, but it's like a conversation which is always either being discussed or like pending to be discussed. So I'm excited to talk about it. I'm going to talk about like some examples, primarily in like, I guess, pop culture, and then my takes, some current things within the climate, and we'll go from there. But I think it's really important to like figure out or to like get a clear definition of what queerbaiting is, because I think people misunderstand it quite a lot. So queerbaiting refers to the mattering or creative practice in media where people hint at but never explicitly depict same-sex romance. Also, this is like, and I think this has been used as a strategy to draw in LGBTQ plus consumers, because it's about relatability, you know. And I think because queer people are so loyal when it comes to standing people in pop culture, I think people are conscious of that, you know. But like there's always a midpoint, there's always an in-between, but let's get into it. I don't really know how we go about like figuring out whether it's queerbaiting or not, you know, because like I think some of the reasoning as to why people are regarded or depicted as queerbaiters can be quite unfair, you know. I'm very 50-50 on this. I see it either side. So the first person who I want to talk about is Harry Styles. Now, obviously, like Harry Styles is a household name. He's one of the biggest pop stars in the world. This conversation surrounding queerbaiting only really came into place after One Direction ended in 2016, right? So it's been a good 10 years. And I feel like, in Harry's defense, I feel like, and this seems to be a case of a lot of groups, when you're in a group, you are providing one collection, you are providing one layer and one display. Do you get? So like those unique, authentic preferences and attributes and personalities don't always shine as much as they can do because they're restricted. 5 personalities trying to create one presence of a brand is quite a lot to work with, right? So I think it initiated after that, but I think you have to also appreciate a lot of it like comes from Harry's like choice of clothing, right? And his like femininity or supposed femininity, right? But like, I don't know how far we can land with using clothing as a reason as to why someone's queerbaiting. Do you know what I mean? Harry Styles has been seen as a queerbaiter because of his dress sense and his feminine demeanor. But again, we also can't hold an association that men are queerbaiting or straight men are queerbaiting purely because they are feminine. It's like, it doesn't land enough for me. I think the thing that I find frustrating, not just for Harry Styles, because I feel like Harry Styles does get the brunt of it, even though when there are so many other people that are just as bad. I think the biggest issue with queerbaiters are if someone is actively profiting off queer people and purposely being misleading, heavy on the purpose. If someone is purposely misleading queer people to think they are queer when they're not, and they're making profit, that is when it goes south. If you are someone who is a bit flamboyant and a bit androgynous, but you don't mislead your orientation and you make money off queer people, I don't really understand how you can be faulted for that. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not your fault. And also there's a conversation about like, you don't owe your sexuality to anybody, you know? But there have been multiple occasions where Harry has refused to acknowledge his sexuality. But I think it's also, whether he's straight or not is actually none of my business. But I think it's also about like, why? Why do you need to know? And also, realistically, friends and family will know. So who are you as a journalist, as someone online who needs to know, like, how does it make your life easier? How does it make your life better? But it also kind of opens up a bigger conversation about how like straight men can't be creative, straight men can't be flamboyant. The way that Harry Styles has been treated kind of suggests, from a wider perspective, that straight men are not allowed to be feminine. All straight men aren't allowed to like dress in like a gender non-conforming way. Do you know what I mean? We have so much energy about how we should be able to be the way we want to be and express ourselves the way we want to be. There's a lot of energy surrounding how like straight men should be allowed to be intimate and soft and vulnerable. But when the biggest pop star in the world wants to dress a certain way, those thoughts and feelings seem to go away. I am very much like on the sideline of Harry Styles because he can't help the way he is, whether he's straight or not. But like, I do think there's other levels. But I do also think when you are someone who is deemed as a queerbaiter, when you are someone in the public eye, in the spotlight, who is supposedly queer but hasn't disclosed it, I feel like that idea of the illusion kind of feeds into it. I feel like the idea of the illusion kind of intrigues people, right? And I feel like that can lead to further success because it's no one's business what Harry Styles is or who he's into. But I do think him not explicitly saying what he is does have benefits, you know? Do I think Harry Styles should come out? I think he should do what he wants. But like, if we compare the way that Harry Styles, who has a feminine demeanor, displays and acts, compared to someone outwardly queer like Lil Nas X or Sam Smith, the treatment is very, very, very different, right? And I think to myself, being out as queer does have a consequence of some sort, right? When we compare it to someone who isn't queer or hasn't said they're queer and they are a certain way. It's the same with Shawn Mendes. People love Shawn Mendes. Oh my God, people love Shawn Mendes. Shawn Mendes is quite feminine, right? He's always been quite camp, but again, he could just be straight. And I saw this really sad video where he said that he was trying to figure it out. And I thought, you lot have actually pushed him to that. You lot have pushed him to that. I think sometimes, right, people need to appreciate that celebrities are real people. I feel like people think because you don't know this person personally, and because this person is online, and because this person makes money from being a public figure, a lot of like outsiders feel entitled to their own opinion. They feel entitled to contributing to online hate. And I'm thinking, yo, roll it in a bit. Like, I don't think people realize that words hurt. And I feel like this like really weird sense of entitlement for celebrities is really, really malicious. You know, we are all people. We all have feelings. And I just feel like just because you're famous, it doesn't mean that you are deserving of knowing what someone's sexuality is. You know, like, please roll it in. It's not cute. It's really not cute. And we've seen situations where like the media and the press have given so much scrutiny and pressure towards someone who is supposedly queer. That's led to them coming out, you know? And I'm just thinking, guys, it really doesn't need to be this difficult. It really doesn't. Just leave people alone. Just leave people alone. A really good example that I can think of that comes to the top of my head is Kit Connor. Now, obviously, Kit Connor has been acting for a long time. For those of you who don't know him, he must be, 22, 21? Early 20s. Kit Connor's been like acting since he was a child, but he really came to stardom when he was in Netflix show Heartstopper. Heartstopper is about two queer boys that fall in love, Charlie and Nick. Nick, who was played by Kit Connor. So Nick is a bisexual character, right? Kit Connor is quite masculine from what we see from like an outsider's perspective. Kit Connor is quite a masculine person, right? So there was a lot of speculation during filming of season 2. Is Kit Connor gay? Is he queer? Is he queer baiting? Right? Because there isn't that much masculine representation, I feel like a lot of people really struggle when people are masking out, because it's just so rare. It's not common at all. Yeah, so Kit Connor received a lot of scrutiny. I remember watching this one interview where he got asked about it, which I just don't understand why he got asked about it. And he literally said, "I'm comfortable with my sexuality, and those who know me are too." And at that point, I think he obviously isn't straight. So just leave the kid alone. But people push and push. And then he was seen with a woman. He was seen with a woman holding a hand with a woman somewhere, which then led to him coming out online. He made a tweet in 2022 saying, "Back for a minute, I'm bi. Congrats for forcing an 18-year-old to out himself." I think some of you missed the point of the show. So there's so many layers here, right? One, like the gay community can be really biphobic. The gay community can be so biphobic. I feel like, right, and I do understand and appreciate that a lot of people come out as bisexual before they're gay, right? But it's not the case for everyone. It really isn't. And I feel like a lot of gay people, when it comes to queer baiting celebrities or gay celebrities, they feel quite entitled, right? They feel quite, they feel like they're owed something. And I feel like a lot of people during that time period felt like Kit Connor owed them something, because I think the final straw was when they saw him with the girl and they thought, "Oh, this can't be real." But then again, people just didn't appreciate bisexual people do exist. And who's to say that Kit Connor wasn't, who's to say that Kit Connor wasn't hired to be Nick Nelson because they're both bisexual? Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I'm just like, guys, honestly, like, you're making this more difficult than it needs to be. It really doesn't need to be like this. I genuinely can't fathom how insensitive people are. It really doesn't make sense to me. I think it's really I think it's whack. And, I can only imagine how, like, that circumstance would have been, like, very detrimental to Kit Connor's mental health, and to, like, other people in the industry who may be going through similar circumstances. Yeah, it's just bizarre. But I think also it can be really dangerous speculating someone's sexuality in a public place or not. I just always think, right, if you're suspicious or you think someone's queer and they haven't come out, there's quite clearly a reason for it. I feel like a lot of people really don't think like that. I feel like people don't use their brains. If you think someone is gay or bi or queer or whatnot, and to you it's very obvious, there's quite clearly a reason as to why they haven't come out. Do you get? I feel like people are, like, so entitled. And I feel like this comes a lot from straight people who do not appreciate what it is like to be a queer person. There's so many circumstances, culture, background, like faith, like we don't always know what's going on behind closed doors. Do you know what I mean? So I just feel like we need to, if you know someone you think they're queer, don't ask them. Honestly, please just leave it. You have my word. If they want to tell you, you will know. They get to a point where, like, you just don't care anymore. But for an 18-year-old boy, that's a bit of a stretch. A bit like Shawn Mendes. Some people are still trying to figure it out, Some people haven't come up because they actually don't know, For all we know, we don't even know what Kit Connor's experiences are like. He may have never have kissed a boy before coming out to the public. He may have more experience with women. We don't know. It's not our business. It's just the entitlement for me. And that's why I think it can be quite hard to find the balance, to figure out, okay, who is queer baiting, I'm trying to be really, like, 50-50 here, because I do appreciate it from both sides. But, like, sometimes it is, like, really apparent. Like, for those of you who are chronically online like me, I remember for, like, April Fool's Day in, like, 2020, there was a group of content creators in the States, primarily straight men, who were, like, posting videos and challenges to, like, social media, like lip syncing Boys and Girls, that song by, like, will.i.am, coming out as bisexual. And this was just a P take, Granted, the it being on April Fool's Day as well. And these boys are big content creators. I'm gonna like put their video in here, but these boys, they're big content creators. They're very successful. They're very popular. You know, that would have generated revenue. That would have like probably reached queer audiences. And I think like you're making money off people, queer people, for being misleading. Because these boys also have a big platform, you may have actually like provided safety for queer people until they realized that it wasn't the case, you know? So stuff like, and I don't know whether they actually said after they weren't queer, but they aren't. So I feel like something like that is obviously like very in your face, very apparent. I want to talk about Billie Eilish. Now, this is another one which is just unfortunate because of the world we live in. So Billie Eilish does give like very like tomboyish vibes, but again, you can be straight and be a tomboy. Like, it really isn't that severe. I don't know why we're debating this, to be honest. But yeah, like obviously Billie Eilish, she's been around for quite a while now. Like, I don't know why she gets counted on with the new girls, because she's been around for a minute. Like, she's a talented woman, you know. She's always been very like playful and she's always been very playful with her lyrics and with her visuals, which obviously like led to speculation. When she released her debut album, there was a song said "Wish You Were Gay." I don't know if this has changed now, but at the time she said it was about a guy who didn't like her and she wished the guy was gay because then it would be less painful. Him not liking her back. I don't know if that's still the case, because I don't know if that was like a queer undertone and she just didn't want to share. I think that's what's so nice about music. Some celebrities are very like hush hush, very like rare when it comes to their like interviews, but like they pour it into their art. And I think that's okay. Like, I don't think that's a problem. But yeah, like these playful lyrics and visuals, it was quite, I think it was controversial in the music video for Lost Cause, because people just like to make noise for no reason. And then it got even worse in the guest remix with Charlie XCX. There's a lyric where Billie says, "Charlie likes boys, but she knows I'll heal it." I don't really understand how that's queer baiting. Like, I feel like at that point she quite clearly like is queer, you know. People aren't playful with lyrics like that for no reason. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I see things very differently. At that point I thought, is that not all the clarity you need to understand and appreciate that she is obviously queer? Like, guys, leave it. You've got what you wanted. Calm down. And then she officially came out in an interview with Variety in 2023. She even said she felt outed by the media and that she doesn't believe in labels and that it's okay. She's not a label girl. She acknowledges that she likes men and women. And I think also it's really important to remember these people that we're giving so much stick to, they're really young. Like, really young. I know so many people who like were still figuring things out. I even know straight people who were like in their early 20s trying to figure things out because they may have felt a certain way. But I feel like also at that time we are all like very horny. So it's very much like it's the time to be experimental, and that's okay. A non-celebrity has the luxury of being experimental without the whole world commenting on it, you know? Like, if Billie Eilish or whoever was to want to do something with a girl, right? Who's to say that someone didn't see it happen? Who's to say someone didn't see them walking into a house or going for dinner? Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like slack really needs to be given, because I currently can't see it. It's quite annoying, to be honest. Another great example who I want to talk about is Bad Bunny. Now, I think Bad Bunny is amazing. He's so creative. He's so cool. He's such an ally. I think because Latin culture is stereotypically quite hegemonic and quite masculine, people can't really get on board with Bad Bunny's femininity. But I think his intention, because he's such an ally, has been to break boundaries, challenge conventions, because, you know, the Latin community is huge and there's bound to be a lot of like queer people of the Latin community, you know? But like, I think with Bad Bunny, what makes it even more interesting is he's always been that way. I get Harry Styles' reasoning, but it's not like a Harry Styles where he switched up. Bad Bunny has always been colourful, expressive, flamboyant, a real true ally. You know, my man, he wears skirts. I think he like kissed a man at one of his performances, but he always like was very vocal on the idea that like he wants to make so much inclusivity as possible for queer people. I think, and I remember like when he wanted to get like his nails done or something, and then I think he may have like called, I don't know if he called like the male lady homophobic or whatever, you know, like he does the most. I think he is open to the idea of being fluid. Like he did say, I think when he was asked, because as an interviewer, right, as a journalist in training, as an interviewer, I would never ask somebody, I would never, especially someone I don't know, I would never say to someone, oh, like, by the way, like, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do this with people I don't know. But like my approach, right, when I'm like meeting someone, I'd be like, oh, like, are you dating anyone? Is there anyone special? But I would never be like, oh, is there a man? Do you know? I just wouldn't do that. What? These journalists, did they not read the media and ethics law about invasion? These journalists, they need to stop asking people. So I've actually gone on about this so much because it really annoys me. But yeah, Bad Bunny was asked if I can't remember what the question was, whether he was asked if he was queer or whatnot. And he said, right here, right now, I like women, but who's to say I won't in 20 years' time? Which he shouldn't have even had to have said, to be honest. But do you know what? The climate. Difficult, confusing. Yeah. I want to finish with my last example, Hudson Williams. Now, the conversations I've been seeing recently about Hudson Williams are really jarring, like really jarring. So Hudson Williams has become recently very incredibly famous after he was on Crave's Canadian TV show, Heated Rivalry. He plays Shane Hollander, a closeted hockey player, alongside Connor Stoll. Hudson Williams is an amazing actor. He is incredible. He is so talented. I'm so excited to see where he goes. I'm so excited to one day interview him. I think he is absolutely phenomenal. Like I am genuinely, I haven't been this excited for someone for a long time. Whether he's queer or not, we don't know. And you know what? It's actually not our business. But like the conversations I've been seeing about Hudson Williams over the last few weeks are so stupid. So stupid, yeah. We need to distinguish the difference between being a queer person and being a queer character, right? There is no set rule that you have to be queer to play a queer character, right? Just because you fell into an illusion or you fell into a narrative that he may be queer and doesn't want to disclose that, that's on you. You know? If Hudson Williams is queer, that's his business and no one else's. We have no good reasoning as to why it's any of our business. That information is for himself and his girlfriend, you know, but also being bisexual is an actual thing, you know, like roll it back a bit, calm down. I just feel like, can't we appreciate that Hudson has created this amazing character and that character has done so much for queer people? Should queer people be prioritized to play queer characters? Probably. But is it the end of the world if someone who isn't queer plays the queer character? No, not really, because it's a character. You know, there's enough. Hudson Williams hasn't actually done anything to indicate he's queer, right? Yeah, he's flamboyant, he's feminine, but so are straight men, you know? Like, I feel like the conversation around Hudson Williams is very tiresome. He's an actor, whether he's queer or not, none of our business. He's an actor playing a queer character. There's no debate. There's no conversation to be had. There's no misleading. That's your own illusion that's taking over, right? Just because he's a celebrity and he's very famous and he was on a show as a gay character, that does not give you the right to be invasive and to scrutinize him because you aren't satisfied. That's your own insecurity. Yeah, that's your own insecurity that you need to pattern up on. It's not Hudson's problem. It's yours. But I just feel like there's like a lot of pressure towards him, right, to come out. And I just feel like I see all these things online saying, oh, he needs to come out. He needs to stop being a queerbaiter. I'm thinking, did we not learn anything from Kit Connor? Did we not learn how being pressured and going on can be really detrimental to someone's mental health? Do you know what I mean? Guys, please, just leave it. Honestly, it's not your business. I'm just happy with a good actor. And, like, he's fit. And I get to see him play a gay guy. Like, I'm winning. And so are you lot. Stop that now. Obviously, like, there's so many and ahs. Like, I don't really know how we can truly figure out whether someone's queerbaiting or not. We need to appreciate and acknowledge some people enjoy queer culture, gay culture, you know. My straight friends do. Some people people feel comfortable being feminine or being flamboyant. That feels more suited to them, and they can still like the opposite sex, the opposite gender. There is a conversation to be had though. Like I do, I do kind of think, why is like femininity praised on straight people, particularly straight men, but not so much queer people? I do feel like when people aren't explicitly queer, outsiders create an illusion or a narrative, right, which kind of benefits them in a way. Whereas when I see people who are outwardly queer, they don't seem to get as much praise. I would really like to understand more about that. And I think I'm going to have to do some research on it, maybe do like a part 2. But it just feels like queerness is praised and celebrated on a straight man, but not a queer one. Like, even for example, like, when like straight men go on like stag do's, yeah, and you'll see they're all wearing dresses and like wearing skirts. People eat that up. People absolutely love seeing straight men in skirts and dresses on stag do's. People love it. But if a queer guy is just minding their own business on a day wearing that, they'd be ridiculed. There is a real level of double standards, right, for what straight men and what queer people can do. It feels kind of naff and weird that straight men are able to entertain queerness and feed off it, and they don't get the consequences that queer people do. Obviously, like, you can be flamboyant, you can be expressive, but I think my issue is, why are we not all celebrated for being that way inclined? But yeah, I don't know how long that one was, but guys, thanks for joining me. My name is Jord Hellwood. This is the Winning Side podcast. I hope you enjoyed the conversation, and please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you very soon.